Santa Cisneros is The House on Mango Street and ZZ Packer's Drinking Coffee Elsewhere are multicultural texts that cannot be understood without acknowledging the two different cultures portrayed. Esperanza's understanding of her place in Chicano culture and Packer's characters' understanding of their places in African American culture drive the two texts, binding together their many vignettes and smaller characters into cohesion. Central to this understanding of culture is the urban setting of Mango Street and most of Packer's stories. This urbanness provides more than just a setting. It informs the characters' interiority and reveals their culture. The House on Mango Street is narrated by the little girl Esperanza Cordero, who grows up over the course of the text, earning it the title of Bildungsroman. Told in a series of vignettes of varying lengths, it describes Esperanza, her friends, family, history, and home on Mango Street. Esperanza is a part of the Chicano culture, and the book details much of what it means to be a woman within that. Drinking Coffee Elsewhere differs from The House on Mango Street in that it does not revolve around a central character as an access point, but instead uses a variety of characters over a variety of vignettes to discuss African American culture. This text presents a more varied account. This paper focuses on the story speaking in tongues. Tia, the main character, leaves her home with her Pentecostal aunt to search for her drug addict mother in Atlanta. In doing so, she encounters a cast of characters who teach her about loss of innocence, scare her, and help her along her way. While she is never really successful, she really does learn about herself and much more about the world outside her Pentecostal enclave. In her article, The Architecture of Ethnicity in Chicano Literature, Monica Kopp discusses the role of architecture in establishing tones and culture in Santa Cisneros' The House on Mango Street. Esperanza's house, Kopp argues, is, quote, anything but the warm and sheltering center of her world, end quote. It is a place of disappointment, not quite what the family had hoped for, more temporary than permanent. The narrative around the physical structure of the house, quote, presents a series of women confined to their homes by the orders of fathers and husbands. A recurring image of domestic confinement, boredom, loneliness, is a woman sitting in a window frame or standing in a door frame, longingly gazing out, end quote. The out is the other portion of culture as revealed in the architecture of Mango Street. The street is a public space in which people move about and interact quickly, lending itself well to Cisneros' format of vignettes. The episodic structure of the narrative in The House on Mango Street, quote, follows the movement of street life, where events begin and end suddenly, end quote. The houses on either side of the street provide then, boundaries for the narrative. Within this, quote, the entire street becomes a large stage with spotlights illuminating the temporary settings of street encounters. Thus, the real subjects of Cisneros' narrative is not so much the solid architecture of the houses, which is often bleak, as the movements and the contacts of the many lives that flow in and out of them, end quote. The changing nature of identity in The House on Mango Street is reflected in, quote, a shifting of the problematic of ethnicity from organic unity to the constructedness of identity, changing our view of Chicana identity as a permanent thing, to dislocation, demolition, and reconstruction, end quote. Within this, it is important to note, as Kopp does, that Cisneros does not merely focus on a single house, but on the whole street, which symbolizes and demonstrates, quote, Chicano nationalism's concern with the collective. Through the street, Cisneros reintroduces a collective Latino public space, the urban equivalent of the homeland, end quote. This public space is safe for Esperanza and her friends. It is a community that watches out for its members, knows who they are and what they are doing, becoming, more than the houses themselves, a holder of identity. Kopp contends that The House on Mango Street addresses and contradicts the crimes, drugs, and gang stereotypes of inner urban communities, but only within the bounds of one's own community. And, quote, all brown, all around we are safe, but watch us drive into a neighborhood of another color and our knees go shakety-shake and our car windows get rolled up tight and our eyes look straight.
Created using Powtoon.